Aaron Jones is having a good day, everyone knows it. Everyone feels it around him. When he's having a good day, it generally means he pitched really well. We'll talk about the opposite, too. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots. Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Jones is one of those professional athletes, one of those upper tier, extra talented professional athletes is probably a better context for it, who's keenly aware that he belongs at that level. And that doesn't mean he's, egotistical or bad or anything like that. It means that he knows he should be doing special things. Why? Because he's done them. And he's done them all his life. And even in a setting like last spring and summer when he was supposed to be and everybody was supposed to be, and actually kind of were, overshadowed by Paul Skeens, he was still right there. And then he got hurt. Things didn't go so well. Came back, had some good outings, had some not so good. And it was easy to see the impact that it had on him, because just as you are able to visualize for yourself how emotional he can be, that's probably multiplied many times over on the inside. Now, why does any of this matter? I'll tell you why. I think he's the swing vote. You hear that term a lot in a presidential election. This is the swing state. This is the swing city. Pittsburgh actually was seen as the big swing city in the most recent one. That's why both sides' campaigns pretty much took up residence here. It's the one that tips the scale. It's the finger that somebody puts down to make the difference. As I see it, this rotation has the capability, and I say capability, that's not a prediction, of being not good, not very good, but excellent. I'm not sure how that could even be argued when you're talking about just pure capability. With Skeens at the top, Mitch Keller there, another outstanding prospect potentially on the way sooner rather than later in Bubba Chandler, and a pretty decent 5 as a lefty in Bailey Falter, not to mention other options that could come along as the season goes. Johan Oviedo's coming back from Tommy John. That's not going to be right away. It's just no way. Johan wants that. He's told me that when we spoke a week ago in Bradenton. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. You also have Thomas Harrington, Braxton Ashcraft, other prospects that are in the top 100 of most lists, but kind of right there. Mike Burrows was once the top pitching prospect in the system. He's coming back from Tommy John. It can be something, but to overcome the other very significant shortcomings, at least as the roster is presently constituted, it can't be 2 out of the 5 starters going. I don't know that it can be 3 out of the 5. You almost have to get greedy in this scenario, because this team's not going to hit. It's certainly not going to hit for power. This team's not going to be great defensively. It can be okay, I think, at best. The only areas at which they'll be really, really, really good defensively are the obvious ones. That's third base and wherever Jared Triolo happens to be playing that day. It's not going to be anything special on the base paths. O'Neal Cruz is going to have his, 21 out of 22, but not enough to make some sort of seismic difference in your overall run count. And while I'm at it, we don't know about this bullpen because we don't know about David Bednar. The only thing that we do know is that Aroldis Chapman's not around anymore, which means there has to be a Kyle Nicholas or a Carmen Mlodzinski or someone like that who rises up into a more prominent role closer to the back of the game. So that's where Jones is the swing vote. Jones is sitting there in the middle. Not that there's some official depth chart or that this reflects what the order of the rotation will be. I'm making my own priority stack here. I feel Keller's done a lot of good stuff and is a very healthy and safe choice for number 2 behind Skeens. But Jones has to get it done. in the middle. Jones can't be an ongoing project. Jones can't be in and out of the rotation, meaning from a durability standpoint. He has to come through, maybe more than any other player on the team. He has to come through in a way that might not be expected at this point in time. This spring, this year, Jones has added, or is trying to add, a sinker, a two-seamer. That's a way he can get ground balls, maybe reduce some of his pitch counts, become in general more efficient, and that obviously could also lead toward health, toward durability. Derek Shelton addressed this yesterday in Bradenton.
Well, I think first and foremost, he's probably a little bit more comfortable. Last year he came into camp with the anxiety of trying to make the club and where he was at and find his footing, and now it's in a situation where making sure that he's working on his repertoire, adding the two-seamer, just being able to use pitches. But it was encouraging to see how the ball came out of his hand today.
The one thing about Jones that has, and had even last year when everybody was rightly singing about him, a little concerned, is that he's not the biggest dude. That's not a knock. At 5'11", that's not considered to be ideal stature for a starting pitcher, let alone a horse type. Everyone can cite Pedro Martinez from now through the next century, but Pedro was the outlier. And I got to tell you, I kind of got the sense from Jones when I was in Bradenton last week that he's aware of all this. He's carrying himself with even more of a chip from what I could see, and that's good. That's all right. He's okay in that zone. It'll be fascinating to see how that plays out fully over 2025 when we come back. J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstorage.check.org. That's gunstorage.check.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from David, who says, DK, the NFL was able to force Dan Snyder to sell the Commanders, so why can't Major League Baseball force Bob Nutting to sell the Pirates? This comparison gets made a lot, and I'm surprised every time, because you'd have to be familiar with what ended up happening with Washington's franchise to know that there's a massive difference here between that situation and this one. All that's happening in Pittsburgh is that payroll is being shorted. Player payroll is being shorted. I've been saying this for several years now, by around 15 or 20 million per year. What's more, there's been negligible investment in the product, meaning money going out up front to make the team better, and then ideally building upon it from there. Now, you can say a lot of different things, and heaven knows I have, about this owner and about this ownership. What you can't say is that he's broken some rules unless he has done something that goes against the actual rules that exist for receiving revenue sharing monies. Now, I say that, and again, you'll hear figures about revenue sharing that it's $100 million a year, and that's not what's being referenced when it comes to the rules. Revenue sharing, in its strictest definition in baseball, isn't the shared TV monies, isn't the shared advanced media monies. It's a separate pool into which every team contributes and only some teams draw, strictly for the purpose of, well, at least trying to make things more balanced. That money, which is probably around $30 million at this point a year, is required to go into payroll. And this is where it's going to get frustrating for you, because you can say, well, it's not, it's clearly not, it should be on top of what they already spent. But they can say anything. They can say that if their payroll ends up being 90, they can say that the 30 is part of that. It's just a matter of which pocket you're storing the bills in. Now, I don't care to go over Snyder and his various misadventures, but there was a lot of bad stuff going on there. And remember that the number one sin that Snyder committed in the eyes of the NFL, meaning Roger Goodell and the other owners, was that he stabbed them all in the back. He did all kinds of nasty stuff. He made enemies out of the guys who could do what it is that you're describing. And even then, it was hard to get him out. It was a challenge. So no, these things are not at all comparable. Understand, this isn't a defense of Nutting. He is the wrong owner for this team. He should sell the team. I can't say that often enough. Doesn't mean he's done something to technically gotcha type break the rules. And he most definitely hasn't ticked off any of his fellow owners or the commissioner. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.